Evening folks, this is BestInSlot with some really exciting Jurassic World Evolution news. Yes, terrain tools have been confirmed for the upcoming summer update, probably due late next month, early July, something like that. We're going to cover all the information we found out today. There was a new forum post called a feature focus, and it's number 1 of 3. So there's going to be 2 more posts in the coming weeks highlighting stuff that's coming in this large summer update. We're going to talk about absolutely everything they revealed today, but yeah, really intrigued as to what the other 2 could be. I was pretty sure terrain tools were coming. I actually knew terrain tools were coming, but the other 2, I've got no idea, so we're going to keep an eye on that. But let's cover what has actually been revealed first of all. So we're just going to go through absolutely everything they said. We are excited to bring you a new update to Jurassic World Evolution this summer, which will feature a huge selection of additions and improvements. Huge. To give you some insight into what to expect, we'll publish 3 weekly feature-focused articles to give you an overview of some of the content coming soon. And then just casually, like it's no big deal, they just dropped this screenshot in. Bam! Terrain tools. Now, this is how it's going to look. Obviously, that's the default sort of grass tool. And if we look over here in the bottom left, you can see we've now got this new sort of terrain painting one. And there's the grass, there's the rock, and there's what is meant to be like a dirty, loamy, half grass, half muddy kind of texture. I did actually try to find it in-game and wasn't able to for some reason. I'm sure it is there. I'm sure it's just kind of the texture on some of the mountains and stuff like that, but I don't know. If anyone has a direct link, that would be great. But yeah, there we go, terrain tools. It is a little bit limited, but it makes a lot of sense. It's basically using the terrains that are already existing in the game. So every island should still feel like the island, but honestly, I think this is going to make... This alone will make a big deal, especially with some of the other stuff we're going to get, which we're going to talk about very soon. So let's start reading part of the article. Terrain painting and scenery improvements. A few of you noticed our little Easter egg in the last developer spotlight picture from a few weeks ago. Whilst we're sure many people do enjoy rocks and the sun, it's still a bit unusual to have framed photos of them on your desk. These were of course hints towards our new environmental improvements coming to Jurassic World Evolution that will let you style your parks to make them even more unique. With update 1.8, we'll be adding a number of terrain painting and scenery improvements, and we're going to highlight a selection of those today. It is not just terrain painting, there are some pretty cool scenery improvements being added to the game as well, which we are about to cover. So the update is going to be 1.8. That's like the introduction to what's going on in the update. So let's look at the first section, which is the terrain painting. Update 1.8 introduces a selection of terrain brush tools that will allow you to alter the land textures of your parks. These will be specific to each island, allowing you to create your individual areas while still ensuring each island retains its own unique feel and personality. You will be able to theme areas with rock, mud, which is what they're calling that one on the right, and grass effects, and certain islands like Isla Muerta will feature sand brushes to help create those lush beachfront dinosaur resorts you've always dreamed of. Little bit of a shame that we're not going to get sand on every island. I don't know if I totally like the justification for that, but it's okay. As these materials are used as the base for the islands themselves, we had to put in some work to pull them out for the brush system to use. Some core framework changes were needed to ensure that we maintained performance and save game size. However, we wanted to expand the existing available terrain and give park creators the freedom we've had in creating these islands. These new terrain brushes will complement the existing grass option, no research unlocks necessary. We've also added a toggle option to show evolution contour lines. Now those evolution lines are actually potentially quite exciting. I'm assuming it's something like this. If you imagine you're looking down at the ground and this is your island, you'd then have a bit, you know, these sort of contour lines. It'd be something like this where each inner section is a slightly taller or lower section, higher or lower, whatever you want to call it, and that will kind of give us a hint as to what part we can actually build on with our buildings. I do think the system still needs adapting a little bit so that the terrain modifies to your buildings a lot easier, because at the moment placing buildings is a massive pain in the ass, but maybe that's a little bit difficult to do, and this is at least a step in the right direction. So I've pulled up a little screenshot here just in case you are curious, but that's an example of 3 of the tools in action about how we'll be able to combine them together to make some pretty cool stuff. This is going to make me want to build sandboxes on Isla Muerta, which is not something I've really considered before. Usually we always build an Isla Nublar. Now unfortunately Isla Nublar is probably not going to have the sand option because there's no sand anywhere on it. So maybe this is their way of pushing people to play on the other islands a little bit more. So as mentioned, we are getting more than just the terrain painting, we're getting some general environmental decoration as well via Shrub tools. New Shrub brushes will be available with update 1.8. These will give you the option to place all the different shrub types from each island in any park you like. Do you want to add Isla Pena shrubs on Isla Muerta? Go for it! Exclamation point. We're also adding a new vibrant shrub type to allow even more creative freedom with the vegetations in your parks. The different shrub types were originally envisaged as a part of the differentiation between the different islands, but we wanted to progress that so they can be used on all the islands. As with the painting, we needed to ensure that occurred without increasing memory or save game size, and without impacting performance. You'll find these new shrubs right next to the existing tree and shrubs from the moment after you install the update. They'll work out of the box with the new terrain bushes as well, helping you create the perfect capture mode shot! Exclamation point. So I've gone ahead and gathered some images because a lot of people, like if you're like me and you're still playing this game at this point, you probably don't spend much time at all on the other islands. It's actually hard to remember sometimes that the other islands do have variation in their shrubbery. So I've picked up 4 of the different ones here. So that is Isla Muerta, probably my favourite one actually. This is quite like low down, very fluffy looking, and with these little purple flowers on it. We've got this one from Isla Matanceros, but also Isla Nubla. Isla Nubla has the same kind of style. These ones are from Isla Pena. They're a little bit darker, more like a heather looking sort of thing. And we also have these, which are very similar but very slightly different. They're wider and more sort of spiky, and those were found on Isla Tucano, I believe. There may be 1 or 2 more out there, but it's really good that we're going to be able to use these on all the islands going forward. I get the idea behind keeping these to individual islands, but I think the shrubbery tool was so underutilized and people didn't go on the other islands enough that kind of post-release, or like a month or so after release, all the islands having different shrubbery kind of ceased to matter at all. So it's really good that they've kind of realised that, and now we're going to have these on our sandbox modes in particular. Just bringing in those 4 or 5 different brushes is honestly going to make a huge difference to how our parks are going to look going forward. I'm really excited. This to me may be a bigger deal than the terrain tools, oddly enough, but we'll have to see how the impact when the update comes out in summer. Final part, we're not quite done yet. Natural scenery items. With update 1.8, you'll be given the tools to add new scenery items to the game. These new scenery items, including individual rocks, ladies and gentlemen, finally, and trees, can be placed around your parks so you can craft fantastic new layouts to your enclosures. These will be natural scenery items, so they will fit thematically in your enclosures. For this release, we've added a selection of 5 different trees and 6 unique rocks and rock formations. One of the new trees is wide and low, perfect shade for dinosaurs to shelter under. Meanwhile, we've also added some tall, leafy palms, great for lining pools and ponds with. These singular trees will also provide forest satisfaction for the dinosaurs. For the rocks, we've aimed to provide an assortment of shapes and sizes, making it easier to break up your enclosures and wind your park paths around. All the new items are exceptionally photogenic and should be snapped alongside your prehistoric residents to really get the most out of them. They can be found in the new scenery tab with the same placement and rotation controls as other buildings in the game. These are most, not all, does say most, of the terrain and scenery improvements coming in update 1.8 this summer. We'll be sharing more details with you in an upcoming feature focus next week. So that's everything we currently know that is coming to the 1.8 in summer. So that's all the news. If you're just here for the news, you can go away. Basically, you've had the news. But we're going to talk about it for a couple of minutes. Not just to arbitrarily extend the video, because I actually don't know how long I've been recording for, but because it's really, really exciting. So, first things first, yes, I am somewhat psychic, and I did predict this a long time ago. The framed photos of the rock and the sun, it was so clearly hinting towards something. I did have some very aggressive YouTube comments, people going, "BestInSlot, you're a fricking idiot," and it wasn't fricking. "There's clearly nothing, you're just a hype merchant, blah blah blah." Well, all of you can suck it, right? Oh god, right. So let's look at the good and the bad. Not necessarily bad, I don't really want to analyse this too much before they actually land, but there's some things that already you think, yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But let's look at the good and the bad. Let's start with the slight negatives. Slight negatives, I would say there's maybe a lack of variety already. Like, I was maybe hoping for some new additions texture-wise and maybe some new additions brush-wise. The addition of the unique trees and rocks is really cool, but 6 rocks and 5 trees is maybe not that many, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. It does say for this release specifically, so hopefully this is something we see, because I think they realised by this point in time, this is something the community has been gagging for, basically. And I suspect this update hasn't been in the works for that long, maybe since January, February, something like that. So hopefully in future free updates, 1.9, 2.0, if those indeed do come to the game, they'll be able to just chuck a new tree in every now and again. It can't be that hard to make 1 or 2 new trees, 1 or 2 new rocks, maybe a new texture tool down the line, although that seems a little bit less likely to me given how they're approaching it. They really do want to keep the thematicness of each island together. Thematicness is a word, don't look it up. So maybe we'll get some more down the line. At least it sounds like we're going to have a nice bit of variety. It's honestly going to make such a big deal. The forest tool in the game right now is great. You know, the forests look beautiful. But because even the smallest brush size is so big and we don't have that individual control, it makes making those perfect exhibits a lot more difficult than it ever really should be. What you can have to do at the moment is kind of tap with the brush tool and then maybe delete a little bit and hope upon hope that it just happens to spawn an individual tree. This is really going to open up a lot of options for us. I'm really, really excited. They're not the most elaborate terrain tools that, you know, have been added to any game, but the addition of like 3 or 4 new shrubs to, let's imagine we're primarily playing on Easeless New Block because that's what we tend to do. The addition of those shrubs, the 2 new terrain textures that we can play with, and the rocks and the trees, all that comes together and it makes a big deal. I do hope it'll be expanded down the line, but it is a big deal. This is something we've been waiting for such a long time. And let's be honest, it should have been in the game from the start. Like, we can say that, that's true, it's very much the truth. But to Frontier's credit, whilst that may have been a mistake and maybe there just wasn't time, we know the dev time for this game was cut way shorter than they probably ideally would have liked. The point is, they've listened to the fan feedback, they've listened to the community, and they've added this stuff into the game. And I hope it's not too late for some people who've maybe dropped the game for a little bit. Hopefully this spurs some people to come back and start making some fairly creative, individual-looking exhibits, because that's the main problem the game has. The dinosaurs are the star, but the place in which these dinosaurs live just all looks kind of the same. You know, we've had to do some pretty elaborate stuff to make interesting looking exhibits in this game. If you've been watching my playthroughs, you'll have seen that. We've done like 12 different parks, all with different sort of themes and gimmicks. And stretching them to this point to make those exhibits look individual and exciting is getting very, very, very difficult at this point. So this is going to be such a big difference. I'm going to have to go back and remake some parks and stuff like that. I don't know, I think this is a really big deal. I'm super, super excited. I'm really, really interested as to what's coming in the other feature focuses more than anything else, because I did already kind of know about the terrain tools, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, what is going on in the future feature focuses? And I cannot even begin to hazard a guess. Maybe some AI improvements would be nice. We've seen with the herding that got added to the game, it means that dinosaurs spend a lot more time inside each other, which is fun for the dinosaurs, I'm sure, but it doesn't look great for us as viewers. So some herding update, kind of like what they have in Planet Zoo, where they've got some AI in there that means they avoid each other when herding, because that is actually mentioned in an article about the game. Maybe that's something they could bring into Evolution, so the dinosaurs avoid each other a little bit more. They can herd together, but not inside each other, basically. I'm really curious, what do you guys think about these terrain tools? Let me know in the comments down below. And what else would you like to see in the upcoming feature focuses? Speculate away. What do you think we'll be getting in this big summer update? The update, as I said the other week, to, in my opinion, save the game, basically. Either way, very exciting. Thank you for joining me. Please hit the like button if you found this video informative and you're excited about the summer update. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.